Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Whiskey Wednesday show. We just had our practice run. We recorded like a most excellent 16-minute video. It was so good. We got all the information we were looking for, and then I just went over to check, and it stopped recording after 2 minutes. So, Allison, stop texting me. You're turning my phone off when I'm trying to record. Just kidding. Audio is still running. We're all good. We're here today with Deadwood Sound, just south of Wooler, south of the 401. Middle of winter. I'm in the basement of the Deadwood Sound factory/house. And
workshop.
We're workshop. And we're chatting today about amps and guitars. Deadwood Sound I met when I went out to do a show at Matt's. My sister Christine and Matt have a place, Lost Mile Barn. I went out to do a show there in the spring. Actually, it was in August. And Matt had this beautiful amp. He's like, here, why don't you use this Deadwood amp? And it was pink. He called it Hubba Bubba pink. I called it Pepto-Bismol pink. Mm-hmm. But it was just gorgeous. And I plugged into it, and I didn't quite know what to expect. It was a reverb tank, an amp, and the cabinet. And I plugged in, and it just had this beautiful cascading sound. And I started talking to Matt, and he told me all about you, and that you were living close to me, and that you had this shop where you're building amps, and I had to come check it out. In early December, I came down, and I picked up a reverb unit, which we're still tweaking around with. But I was amazed by everything that you had here, so I figured I'd come down and have a chat. So. Let's see if we can recover all this without boring ourselves.
And looking natural.
Exactly. So again, tell us about how you got started on this. I don't even know how much of that we got into. Like, how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for about 15 years.
15 years?
Yeah, I got into this just, a friend of mine wanted an amp. He wanted a 5E3.
Okay.
And Tweed Deluxe. And he didn't really have the money for it, but he didn't want a new one, he wanted like an old one, right? Which that's why he didn't have the money for it. So I actually had never built an amp before. But I have an understanding of how things work electrically, blah blah blah. So I didn't really know much about it, but I said, yeah, I can build that. I'll build one for you, just joking around. And then I looked into it a little bit, and I thought, you know what, I think I can build one of these. So 5E3 is a very simple circuit, but it sounds really good. And
did you have any electrical experience at this point?
Not really. I do, like, I'm not an electrician or anything, but I can do, like, I've always dabbled in stuff. Okay. Like, messed around with stuff, and I help people do wiring on their houses and stuff like that. And,
okay. Don't really know.
But anyways, I'm not an electrician. Yeah, so I thought I can do it. So I didn't realize that back then, though, that you could actually buy kits to make these things. I didn't know that. So I went and I sourced all these parts, and I bought it all. Bought all the parts and put it together. My brother made me a cabinet for it, and it worked, and it sounded really good. And he still has it today, right? So it was like in a like a hardwood cabinet. We made like an oak cabinet because he did work on furniture and stuff like that. He made did hardwood flooring and all kinds of stuff. So he knew how to work with wood. So anyways, he made a nice cabinet and it sounded great. And I'm like, this is good. So then another guy wanted one. So then I made a different style for him. And then anyways, it just started going. And then I started messing around with stuff until I figured out how to do my own sound, right?
And what were you looking for at that point? Were you trying to, like the first amp you made, like you said, he wanted was it Princeton you said?
No, 5E3.
Okay.
Tweed Deluxe.
He wanted a deluxe. And you thought you'll make a deluxe. At what point did it change into, I'm going to make unique boutique things based on personal preference?
Well, the funny thing is that first amp that I made, I actually tweaked it all out. So it actually wasn't even.
So you started right away.
The first amp I made, I compressed the bass on it. I've changed levels of where it would break up, all different kinds of stuff. Right? It was the very first one I started tweaking with.
So you started messing around right away. Mm-hmm. And that led into 15 years of doing this. And now you have a shop where you're doing, sort of 10 or a dozen amps a year, give or take. Mm-hmm. It's kind of your passion weekend job. And I'm sure it takes up so much of your time. You also do repairs here. Mm-hmm. Yep. You do electronic repairs on guitars, setups and stuff. Probably best to go to like a Long McQuaid or a Luthier who works with that.
There's a guy in town here who's really good.
But anything for amps, electronics, your guitar wiring, any of that, you do all that stuff here, which is great to know because there's not really somebody in the area who does that. I'm trying to think. Peterborough is the closest to Campbellford that I've ever found anybody to do any wiring for me, but it's great that you're down in this area because this area has really nothing. We have a Long McQuaid in Belleville.
Yeah, that's about it.
And I'm sure Long McQuaid are probably asking you to do the repairs for them. So,
Sometimes, yeah, I have done repairs for Long McQuaid.
so that's sort of, Long McQuaid is really good at picking up the luthiers in the area and giving them work. So that's great. Now, when somebody comes to you, they're looking for a unique amp built to a specific sound. You're not doing sort of mass copies. You don't have one amp that you're building, a bunch of the same. Everything is different. Everything is unique.
Pretty much everything's a one.
Yeah, it's like
right?
me saying, I've got my Gretsch. I really like the sound of it, but this amp kind of colors it this way, and I don't like it. I want to just bring out this and this, and you can kind of create something based on that, right?
Yep.
And that can be everything from just general sound of the amp to, compression that you can have built in, or reverb units and all that stuff. You can put all that stuff together depending how custom somebody wants to go. And I imagine price points, your, like entry-level guitar amps are a couple $100. You get into 800 to 1,000 for a semi-pro, kind of consumer-grade amp. You get into 1,500 to $3,000 for pro amps, and then you start getting into boutique amps at that point. And people have asked, why are boutique amps so expensive? Well, you're not dealing with a factory in China that's putting together 10,000 of something at a time. You're dealing with one-on-one. Like for an amplifier like this or this, just the parts alone, no labor, like nothing even connected together is a couple grand, right?
At least 1,000. At least 1,000. Probably more.
Probably more.
It all depends upon what kind of speaker you want. All that. You can spend $600 on a speaker
or
right?
tubes. You can you can go for some kind of specialty tubes that
exactly. Well, even like I use a lot of all the amps I build. I always use vintage tubes. Right. And vintage tubes. Some of those are $200-$300 a tube.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, but these are the prices that people pay. These professional guitar players out there that we see on TV and we see live and we hear their music and it's like, oh my God, their tone is so magical. How do they have that tone? Roy Buchanan, for example, his guitar was fucked up, but that was his tone. Nobody else could get that tone. It was just like, that was his guitar, it was his tone. And I found the same finally with my Gretsch. It's like, it doesn't sound like anything else, and I now consider that the tone that I've adopted, and for me, I like to sort of replicate that tone without too much coloring through an amp or a pedal. And I think that that's a great way to do it, is through custom work with somebody like yourself. So you're making 10 or 12 amps a year. Who are you making these amps for? Are these professional rock stars who have a ton of money, or are these sort of the dentist or the doctor who used to play when they were a kid?
I have actually done some work for people like that, but just some retired people and stuff that just actually there's one customer I have that I probably built 6 or 7 for him, and he just sits in his room and
it's great.
Fills around, but he's got the money and he likes it, right? So, and he always has a different idea about something, but for the most part, it's just musicians who might not have all that much money and stuff, but I'm kind of a little bit of a sucker, and my wife is always like, you don't charge enough. It's like, well, because I feel bad, right? So I give actually a lot of
I'm sure
a lot of deals to people who, if they genuinely want something like that, are like, well, we can work something out. So
it's part of the artistic community. Like it's funny. The painters always have the cheapest, crappiest brushes. The musicians that I know, they're always running on a shoestring. I'm not talking about the professional musicians. I'm not talking about the weekend warriors. I'm talking about professionals. Like, fuck, man, there's no money out there. I used to know I used to be pretty good friends with a high-end guitar maker. I'm not going to say what company it was, but like he made basses that started at like 12 grand and went to like 15, 16 grand. I was like, who the hell is buying these? He said, the dentist, the lawyer, the doctor who played bass in school, and they love it, and they want something at home now that looks really nice in the corner, but they can pick it up and play it, and spending $15,000 is nothing for them. I'm like, yeah, but what about the musicians? Like, well, there's lots of other options for the musicians.
Yeah, well, it's a shame, but the people who should be playing it all the time just don't usually get that opportunity, right?
That's the way of the world. That is the way it goes. And we, the musicians. Look at some of the greatest musicians in the world who've made some of the biggest impacts. They did it on, instruments that, weren't top end. I mean, Jocko's bass, I mean, that was just a jazz that he ripped the frets out of. It was nothing special. It wasn't a $20,000 something.
No. Well, it is now, but
It is now, yeah.
back in the day it wasn't.
But doing these things is neat. Now, you do the cabinetry and all the, you've got the tubes showing on the front of this, which is really cool, because for those of you who don't know, tube amps, they glow. These tubes will light up like a light bulb, greens, blues, purples.
Purples, yeah.
And they'll
reds.
kind of look like they're on fire. And as the band plays, you'll see them getting brighter and going darker when they're not being pushed as much. It's a really neat light show. And to actually put the tubes in the front of the amp where you can see it
most
from
of the time
stage
they're
is
hidden in the
amazing.
back, right? So with this, I don't know. I actually saw an old amp, and it was actually the back of the amp, but the tubes were kind of set up like this, and I thought, why hide those like that in the back? It would be really nice just to have them all sitting at the front. And you could see them on the stage. And like I said, they're all glowing with red and purple or whatever. And so I'm like, I'll try it and see how it works.
And is it okay to have tubes on the side?
Oh yeah, it's fine. Yep. Cool. Well, because you have lots of amps that were like that. The tubes are going down. Then you got like a Marshall style amp with the tubes
They're going up. Yeah. I've seen them both, but I've never seen them on the side. That's interesting.
Yeah, you can do them on the side. You can put them any way you want. It all depends upon the tube, because some tubes are directional, but all these ones aren't.
Right. So you know what you're doing. Speaking of knowing what you're doing, I'm going to make sure this hasn't cut off again. Oh, look at that. It's still recording.
Good.
Excellent. We'll get this one. And amps like this, again, have a unique sort of thing with the side cutaway. This is one that you made for...
Yeah, Matt was going to have an auction for mental health, charity or something like that. But then he ended up not having it. But I said I still made it, and I said if he's ever going to do it again, he's welcome to have it. So
it's there.
I just got to get it to him because he wanted to actually do some recording with it and stuff as well. But you played through that one, I think, last time you were here.
Yeah, nice.
And people really like that one. It's clean, but it's punchy.
It's clean and punchy. It's incredibly.
And it's loud too for what the size of it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty small, but it's pretty loud.
It's a beautiful amp. So you sit here, you do amps, you do repairs, you've got your family, you've got your job, you've got your house, and you also skateboard.
Got my skateboards, yeah.
And this is a collection you've been rebuilding based on stuff from when you were younger, right?
Yeah, everybody gets that point in their life when they start getting older and they start thinking about all the cool shit that they had back in the day that they don't have anymore. Some of these decks are ones that I had, some that are ones I've always wanted. I like all the old the 80s and 90s boards, obviously.
They're beautiful. These welcome decks are, well, this is the original Smith sticks.
Yeah.
The two welcomes that Chris Miller's on now. I love the welcome stuff. It's just great.
So do I, yeah, they're great.
But the old traditional stuff, the Luceros are fantastic. And you've got a couple of set up there for the summer. You've got your freestyle deck and your...
Do you want to take a look at those ones?
Sure,
again?
yeah, pass them over. Which one? Oh, this was the welcome one that I really liked. Yeah, I wanted to get a shot of that. This has got a beautiful profile for use this in a bowl or a ramp.
Anything like that.
You use mostly ramp or bowl?
I've actually never been in a bowl, but...
Oh, so you're a half pipe.
So, half pipes, yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's a beautiful deck.
Super comfortable.
Yeah. And this one, this is the traditional Lucero with the...
Gullwing trucks.
The Gullwing trucks, yeah. Now these Gullwing trucks, they were a reissue, right, that came in
Yeah,
from,
that's a reissue. The ones way back in the day, remember they had a plastic base plate on them? I don't know if you recall that. But yeah, they had a plastic base plate, and it was weird, but maybe it was just for being light. But my Miller that I had, this one, it was pink, like that Lucero over there.
Oh, okay.
I actually had Gullwings on it back in the 90s, but they were red. But yeah, just like those, I actually should put the
I don't see Gullwings around much anymore.
Yeah,
I don't think they're making them.
No, I don't think they make them anymore. And we
this is the cab. Yeah, this is
classic
the
cab, 1987.
Yeah,
cab.
classic cab. Bones on the side. Those aren't the G bones, are they? Those they're the G bones.
Yep, G bones.
64s. Yeah, and the
Rising Sun.
Beautiful, just a beautiful deck. That's fantastic.
And this is
of course a little freestyle deck. Look at this, the little Mullen, the most hated freestyle deck amongst freestylers, and the most popular amongst the world. So strange, eh?
Yeah, it's a cool deck. I always wanted one. I've never really skated freestyle. A little bit of street, but I would never say freestyle. Yeah. But it's a classic deck, and I love the Palo Peralta. I love the original logo.
The original Dragon logo was incredible. Yeah.
All those things it's just
you got the reissue wrap bones on it and the independent trucks.
Which apparently, I guess they're not that good for
Well,
freestyle, but
I mean, in all honesty, I haven't tried them. I've got indies on everything. I love them. I mean, most truck companies are making good trucks. It's just sort of, I just hear from the community that independent, they're just like, they're not the right trucks for, you know. I haven't tried them. I've been using all the freestyle trucks, the ones that are actually made for it.
but did they have those back in 80? You know,
No,
three?
they were using the Tracker mid tracks. My
Okay.
kid Tracker had a freestyle truck, and that's what a lot of people were using back then. But yeah, anyways, it's all cool stuff. I mean, to have a fucking Mullen with indies and rat bones on it is a pretty ideal setup. Okay, we've talked skateboards, we've talked gear. If you need any equipment fixed that has an electrical circuit in it or a tube, down here is the place. And we've got these Deadwood amps, which are fucking incredible. If you're looking for an amp, or you're looking for something to do with your sound or something to do with your tone, reach out. I'll post some links below. You have an Instagram account where you've got some stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but
I'll put the actual link in. Anything we missed?
I don't think so.
I think we covered most everything. We covered the coolness, the look, the sound, the price.
I'm going to send up a couple amps with you, I think,
Okay.
like we talked about, and you know, maybe you can
I can rotate them on the show. I'd love to try
Yeah,
them
if you
out.
wanna
Yeah.
take a look at them.
That'd be really nice.
try them out.
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Deadwood Sound. Check them out online, and we'll be right back with the show in 1 second.